is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 18 of the Yinzhers podcast and our very first episode on the Pittsburgh Sports podcast network. I'm your host, Morgan Erzo. This is my co-host, Jordan DeFigio. Our third missing co-host, missing in action in the DR. We don't know where she is. Last time she was seen was dancing in a pair of Crocs on a boat. Sam, come home, please.
Yeah,
we miss you.
So
So we're so excited to be here, and we're so excited to have you guys either back with us or joining us for the first time. So I just want to take a second to reintroduce ourselves via a Jay-Z. So Jordan, how would you describe what we're doing over here in our little Yinzhers world?
Well, we've been doing this since February, and the reason we started it to begin with was we noticed that there was this lack of women-run anything really in the sports industry in Pittsburgh. No media sites, no podcasts, no news outlets, nothing. And Sam and Morgan and I came together via Steeler Nation, and we all kind of felt like we could really do a kick-ass job of this. And we sort of put our brains together, came up with the name Yinzhers because, we're three girls and we thought it was fun. But we exactly. It was fitting. And we wanted to have something that we could give to the people of Pittsburgh that wasn't just highlighting women in the industry, but showcasing the knowledge and the capability of the talent of women in the industry. And we wanted to provide a platform where younger girls could look to, and if they have a heart for sports and a passion for it, see voices being put out there into the ether and say, I could do that too. I could absolutely go into whatever field I want because nothing is really limiting me because I'm a girl. So we really just wanted to champion women, be like, yo, if this is what you want to do and you have a gift for it, go for it because you absolutely can. So that's why we're here. And again, I'm just going to reiterate what Morgan said. We're so excited to be here on the Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. Cannot wait to see what we can do in this collaboration. And we're honestly just so pumped for the opportunity to keep talking about sports, especially going into the regular season, which starts this week. Oh my God.
I mean, it feels like it's been a lifetime. I feel like I have been twiddling my thumbs, waiting for this season to start, and training camp felt like it was that quick, which is crazy really because the off season always goes by so slow. What am I going to do? Watch baseball? No.
Oh
I mean, my boyfriend plays baseball, but don't tell him that I'm not watching. I'm just kidding. I watch all of his games, but totally. I can't believe the season's almost here. And, I just want to piggyback on what you said, Jordan, being just a different voice in Pittsburgh media, sports media in particular, is so saturated with incredible talent everywhere. And there's a lot of people who have amazing differing opinions and perspectives. And it's just awesome to be able to share ours. And it's awesome that people want to hear our perspectives and discuss stuff with us. A thing that I love about Yinzhers and what we've built and the community that we've built and continue to build is that we engage with people. We talk to people. We've had some amazing interviews and have some amazing interviews lined up. And then we're just, engaging with Steelers fans. There's nothing better, right? It's a big family. And so it's just been an incredible whirlwind of an experience, and we are so pumped to just continue to grow on the Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. So here we are. Sam couldn't be here, but I promise you she's awesome. So y'all will love her as well. Let's jump right in. I wanted to, as Jordan said, the regular season starts in 72 hours. My mind is
crazy.
It's insane.
Crazy.
We have a major part of our team not even, participating in team drills right now. We'll get into that later, or we'll get into it now, because our first question from Twitter is from Deanna, and she wants to know if, hopefully, after TJ Watt is extended, which Steeler do you think should be the next one to get an extension?
Oh boy. That's tricky, because they're going to have a ton of cap space next season. So it's not like they're going to have to prioritize and really fiddle around with the cap the way that they did this offseason. I'm trying, like, I've been so immersed in this offseason and this upcoming season that I haven't really even begun to look ahead to who's going to be a free agent next season. I know, like, I know that they signed Juju to a 1-year deal, so he's going to be a free agent. So, like, but I don't want to really even commit to saying that I think that they should prioritize signing him, because I feel like they need to see how this season goes. Like, it's really all about who performs well this season.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I mean, we're coming out of a year where the cap was significantly lower than it was supposed to be. So obviously, like, Juju went out looking for money that I believe he deserved. Didn't find that. He did find more money than he ended up taking with Pittsburgh, but this is another year where he has to go out there and play his ass off for a big contract. No doubt that he will. I mean, that's the kind of guy that he is. He's proven time and again. He comes through and works his butt off when he has to. So, like, no issue there whatsoever. But I do think that after TJ is extended, and I do believe they'll get the deal done, I don't know when, but I know that is Kevin Colbert's number one priority right now going into this season. And I believe that he'll get it done. Colbert does ridiculous, amazing things. I don't know how, but he makes it happen. That being said, another amazing thing that Kevin Colbert did was finesse the Dolphins for Minkah Fitzpatrick, and I believe that will be the next extension after TJ. And I'm hoping that it is. And that's another huge, big money contract. And they both deserve it. They both deserve that big money. They're two of the best defensive players in the entire league. Now, Minkah gets disrespected time and time again from national outlets who decide to, rank players as if it means something. But he's going to get a big contract too. And I hope and believe that it'll be with us, with the Steelers.
Yeah, they really, what they need to do, I'm not going to even say any particular player, but with the imminent departure of Ben Roethlisberger, they're going to have to focus primarily on the defense, because the defense is going to be their bread and butter with
100%.
the lack of a franchise quarterback. And the next question comes from Christopher off of Twitter, and he asked if we think that they're going to sign a QB next year, and if so, how much we're going to pay Aaron Rodgers. I don't want to be the one to break it to you, but I'm going to be the one to break it to you. Aaron Rodgers isn't coming here. He's not. Yeah. And I honestly don't think they're going to sign a quarterback. I think that they know that they aren't going to find the answer in free agency, because anybody that they do sign is either going to be a temporary solution, like an aging quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, who would break the bank anyway and make it impossible to sign guys like Minkah and even address things on offense going that route. But I think that they're probably going to wait it out with the guys that they have and just kind of say, this is what we're dealing with, and wait until they find somebody in the draft in maybe 2-3 years that they're all in on, and then make trades to get that guy, because then you can build a team. You can build an offense around that. You can't take a guy. You can't take a veteran player that's coming from another team typically, unless you're Tom Brady.
I was just going to say, unless you're Tampa Bay.
Unless you're Tampa, it's not happening. And Tampa had a ton of cap space, and now look at them. But I don't think the Steelers are going to sign a quarterback next year. I think they're going to roll with what they have and wait until they find somebody in the collegiate realm and then draft.
I agree. And I think that that's the smart thing to do. Why break the bank on something that's going to last 3 to 4 years? And there's so much unknown there. Like, we don't know what our situation is going to look like monetarily in a few years, given we want to give these extensions to a lot of the players who have earned them with us. So, I mean, we have a general idea, but we can't afford Aaron Rodgers. Like, I don't care if we have the most cap space in the league next year. Aaron Rodgers is going to want a huge deal. We saw how he handled this issue with Green Bay. He's not a very, what's the word, compromising businessman.
He's not a team player.
Exactly. And so I'm not looking at Aaron Rodgers as a guy who we bring in as like, oh, he's going to be, you know, great for us for 4 to 5 years and we can get him relatively cheap. It's not going to happen, like, ever. Not in a million years.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't like Aaron Rodgers, so I'm cool with that.
I don't either.
So, like, I mean, maybe it's our bias speaking then because we don't like him, but like, I don't like, I'm not there. I'm not there for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
So, and I agree. I think that we don't go out and sign a veteran. I mean, listen, the Deshaun Watson situation in Houston is a very weird one in that he was officially not named the starter today. So, like, if there's a situation where someone is kind of like, you don't want to touch him because there's a little like unknown situation going on legally or whatever, maybe something like that happens. But at the end of the day, I totally agree. I think that we're going to take, I don't necessarily think this is Ben's last year. I'll be honest with you. But if it is, they're going to wait for a guy that they love in the draft. And if that's not next year, if that's not like Desmond Ridder from Cincy, or whoever it may be, and if we don't have a low enough or a high enough draft pick to grab those guys, and they don't think that the trade capital is worth it for a guy they don't necessarily believe is the, you know, heir apparent to Ben Roethlisberger, you know, why? They like Mason enough to keep him in the 2 role as of today. So, you know, I don't know. It's not going to be Aaron Rodgers. That's for sure. And I don't think we're going to sign someone. I think it's just going to be a next man up type thing.
Yeah, agree.
Moving on from CMU WR43, what happens to the predictions for the Steelers season if Watt does not play?
Move.
Listen, it depends on who you talk to, because some people think we're not winning 8 games. Some people think we're not winning 6 games. And that's with TJ Watt. If TJ Watt holds out, which, I mean, like, pigs will fly before he does. That's my stance. That's what I believe. I don't think he's going to hold out. I think he's going to play because I think he's a team guy. I also understand the business aspect of the whole situation. So I do understand wanting to preserve and make sure that you get that money. I get it. I get it all. I'm not going to hate him if he holds out because, you know, it is what it is. But he is a huge part of that pass rush. Huge part of that pass rush. And when we have a secondary that looks the way it does right now, as questionable as it does right now, that pass rush becomes monumentally more important. If TJ Watt doesn't play for some reason, they don't get this deal done, and he holds out, we're going to be, you know, drafting top 5, honestly. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because I'm not going to say he's the backbone of that defense. I don't believe that he's the backbone of that defense. I don't believe a single person is, but he is like a big bone in the back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's
like
one of those vertebrae.
He is like one of the most important vertebrae.
Yeah.
in the spine of the Steelers defense. So that's going to be tough. I mean, if you ask me, I'm someone who thinks that we definitely finish this season over 500. That's if TJ plays. If he doesn't play, not only does that take away a depth piece for us because Melvin Ingram is going to have to step up, and, you know, we have, you know, less opportunities for, you know, moving parts. It is what it is.
Yeah, I think it'll have more of an impact on the locker room than it would on the field. Not saying that it wouldn't have an impact on the field, but I think that's where it would do the most damage because like you
And it
said,
always does.
yeah, like one player isn't going to tank the whole team in terms of performance, but the situations surrounding it is what would make it a little bit more precarious because it is a contract thing. If he's not playing, it's because he's holding out and he's one of the leaders of the team. His brother was just named the captain. Like it would create
Right.
an interesting atmosphere in the locker room. And I I see the Steelers teetering on the edge of like 11-6, 10-7 as is.
Right.
And I feel like losing him would put them at I can't do math, but 7, 8 wins probably. Like that's what I would
If
see just because that would really impact the overall leadership on defense. And yeah, like
absolutely.
they got a decent amount of linebacker depth to compensate for the departure of Bud Dupree, but it's depth and it's players who are new to the team like Melvin Ingram and
Yes.
Robert Spillane is a great depth guy, but like he isn't it in terms of what they need in the middle of the field. And I just I don't know. It makes me a little bit nervous. And like you said, I if it's a business and I do understand that aspect of it where people start to compare it to like Antonio Brown. That's not at all the same.
Or
Even
Le'Veon Bell.
and even that isn't the same because
It's not
Le'Veon
the
Bell
same.
was very like they made him an offer and he was like, "No, I don't want that." But he also didn't really communicate what was going on. He just didn't show up. And then everybody was like, "What? Is what?"
Right. Right.
I think TJ will make his intentions known to people. And if you want to make if you he's going to set the market for the linebacker position in
Yep.
terms of what he makes. And if he feels he can get that outside of Pittsburgh, then he'll go get it outside of Pittsburgh because he'll make that money somewhere.
And he should. Like
Mm-hmm.
too many people look at these players in these types of situations and they call them selfish for wanting their guaranteed money.
Yeah.
Listen, until you go out and your everyday job and your way of supporting your entire family, possibly creating generational wealth, is
Mm-hmm.
to play a sport where you could end up unable to physically perform after a single hit. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Get your guaranteed money. Get
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
I understood it when Le'Veon did it. I disagreed with his decision at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
but wanting guaranteed money, don't fault the players for that.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Everyone wants guaranteed money at their respective job,
Right.
at the role they play in their workplace.
Yeah.
99.9% of people don't perform jobs that are as dangerous as a professional football player. We've
Look at
seen,
Robert Spillane. Like,
look at Ryan
yeah.
Shazier. Like,
No, that's what I meant. Oh my God, I meant Ryan Shazier. Ding dong.
right.
I'm thinking about Robert Spillane
I
because
know. We
he's on
just
the
talked
brain,
about him.
but I meant Ryan Shazier. Yeah, because
Right.
that was like that was terrible. And
I
it just
mean,
one play, one singular play that knocked him on his ass. And
right. So like
yep.
get your guaranteed money, and the issues that it's going to create in the locker room are not that players are pissed that he's not putting the team first, because
Mm-hmm.
every single player in that locker room
They get
understands
it.
what he's doing. They get it. They understand why he's doing what he's doing, why he and his agent are asking for what they're asking for. That is not the point of contention.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is going to come when the losses start stacking up,
Yeah.
and it's
Oof.
because the best defensive player in the league, or top 2 defensive player in the league, the best edge rusher in the league by a large margin, who has led the
Yeah.
NFL for the past 2 seasons in almost every defensive category, isn't there. And
Oh
it's
my
going to
God.
be more of an issue of players versus the front office than players
Yeah.
versus TJ. It's not going to be that. Listen, you don't look at TJ Watt and question his integrity. You just don't.
Yeah.
So, I hope that they can come to a conclusion that works for both of them. I don't think that he's being outrageous in his ask. I doubt that.
Mm-mm.
the Steelers know what they have with him. They know what they have. They're not stupid.
Yeah.
And I hope that they don't play this stupidly. That's
Yeah.
what I'll end that with.
And I think they want to keep him. I hope that they can resolve this before the regular season, because
Me too.
similarities or differences aside, you don't want to go into the start of the regular season with a contract dispute hanging over everyone. It's not something that
It's
you want to have
never
to
a
deal
good
with.
feeling.
It's
Yeah, like
not.
the Mike Wallace situation, the
Oh my
Le'Veon Bell
God. Yeah.
situation. Like, we have seen this play out so many times in
Mhm.
so many different ways. And I mean, luckily TJ's the one on the other end of it,
Yeah.
because like I said, I don't question his integrity. I don't I don't question his word. Sorry, I've been traveling for 2 weeks and my voice is, I feel like I'm going through puberty as a boy.
It's all
But yeah,
good.
you know, I saw a poll today on Twitter. Someone asked, you know, in this TJ Watt situation, who's the bad guy, the Steelers or TJ? I don't necessarily think anyone's the bad guy. I just
Yeah.
think, like, it's time to put pen to paper. Make it
Yeah.
work. Both of them. Both of them make it work.
Some
And that's it.
situations there isn't a bad guy. It's just
Right.
guys
I
that are,
mean,
yeah,
negotiations, like, it's
that's what
one side
happens.
versus the
Yeah.
other. It's not good versus evil or anything like that. It's not who's holding it up and who's ready to sign. Like, that's not the situation either.
Yeah.
You come to a compromise that works for both parties,
Mhm.
period.
Just
With
get there,
Le'Veon
please.
Bell, he made the wrong choice.
Yeah, he really did. But didn't know that at the time. Nobody knew that at the time. It just,
No, of course not. I mean, some people will
yeah,
tell you they did.
yeah,
Some
but
people will
they're
be like, "I knew.
lying.
I
They're
knew
full of it.
Le'Veon was gonna suck the next year." Sure you did, bud.
Yeah, no, you
Sure.
didn't. No, you didn't. Whatever. Anyway, fingers crossed that they get that done this week so that we
Yes.
can just take a collective sigh of relief and be done with it. Oh my Lord.
Yes.
And focus on other things like this question from Full Yinzer. Will the new CB Akella Witherspoon be a starter in week 1? I don't think so.
No.
Nope. I don't know much of him, and I said this on Helmet Hair too. Like, but what I've read about him is that he's wildly inconsistent. It seemed
Up
like,
and down.
yeah, it
Yeah.
seemed like a very low risk, potentially medium reward signing for the Steelers trade, I guess. And if it works out, great. They can have some more pieces to work with. Maybe you put him out there a couple plays each game and you catch him when he's in an upswing.
Right.
But I don't see him being the starter, not even close.
I mean, like, I've seen clips of DK Metcalf absolutely burning his ass, like, bad, when he was with the Niners. So, like, but then the Seahawks signed him. So it's
Yeah.
like, you know, with him, it's tough because you look at his last season, and I mean, take this with a grain of salt because it is PFF, but they have him ranked as the 5th best CB in the league last year, 4th best in coverage.
Yeah.
He's a
You never
decently
know.
big guy. Apparently, he's super fast. And he's got coverage, good hands, those abilities. And so
Yeah.
if that skill set lends itself to the situation, I think we see him, but I'm not naming him a starter. No way. No
Yeah.
way. He's a depth piece at this point.
Yeah.
Whether he plays himself into that starting role, I'm not saying that's impossible, but what I do know of him and what Jordan, I agree with you completely. What I've read is that he is just monumentally inconsistent.
Yeah. And it's not worth
So,
taking that risk, especially against the Buffalo Bills with Stephon Diggs and Cole
right.
Beasley. And Josh Allen at
Is
quarterback.
Cole Beasley playing this week?
The last depth chart that I saw had him listed on there, but they may have changed it today. I don't know. All that COVID stuff and the
Right.
vaccination nonsense with him, he may not be, but I guess we'll see. But he's as wacky as he is. He's
He's a
really damn
threat.
good. He's so
He's a
good.
threat. He was
And
second team All-American last year, or
yeah.
not All-American, All-NFL last
Mhm.
year. So, like, you know, some people questioned that. One of those people being me, but no, he's a threat for sure. And then
Yeah.
when you have Stephon Diggs out there, I mean, I have him in fantasy. Thank you, auto draft.
Yeah.
But
F.
he was the one guy But sidebar, by the way, we had a Yinzhers fantasy draft last week, the day I was traveling back from Greece. And so I, was not available. So auto draft, check the box for me. When I tell you that this team, the only person on this entire team who I would have drafted myself is Stephon Diggs. My starting quarterback, Lamar Jackson. My starting running back and first pick, Nick Chubb. Listen.
I'm so sorry.
Joe Mixon. Justin Tucker. Listen, I'm supposed to be happy when that man misses a field goal in the rare case that he does.
That one time a decade.
Like I'm probably going to win, but rude Yahoo.
Yeah, you're not going to have a good time while you win. While you do
it's going to be bad. It's going to be just a bad all around season. Anyway, ever since I went off on that tangent, I can't remember what we were talking about before that. Oh, Stephon Diggs. Yeah, I don't know. We're not putting Akella Witherspoon up against Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, no
it's
way.
Not going to happen. So, no, not a starter this week. Next question. Again, I mean, we kind of addressed this already. Yeah. Lots of questions about TJ. Will he sign? Will he not? If not, will he play? I think he's going to play. I'm hoping that he signs. Guys, we forget that we have had so many players. I think it was Cortez Allen who signed the night before the first game of the season for that big contract that we gave him. So we forget that these things go into the 11th hour.
Yeah.
And, as much as we want to see this deal done now, and as much as we've been waiting with bated breath for what seems an eternity for this TJ deal to get done, don't lose faith just because it hasn't happened yet. I mean, we've seen this stuff before. So I think he's going to play, contract or no contract. But again, we'll see.
And the more we talk about it, the more I'm talking myself into the fact that he is going to sign, because unlike Le'Veon Bell, who wasn't just at one of the most hit or miss positions in the game, running back, with the kind of shortest shelf life, but he dealt with injuries a lot. He really struggled with different injuries, suspensions on top of that. TJ Watt has given the Steelers no reason to think that his play is going to decline in the next, 10 years. So
or that he's going to get suspended.
I think the Steelers really are just trying to make sure that this deal is exactly what it needs to be. I don't think they're trying to talk him down. I think they're just trying to iron some things out. That's kind of my perception of what's going on right now, because Kevin Colbert has said as much as, we want to sign him. This deal needs to happen because we know what kind of a player TJ is. So I think they're going to do it. And I think they're going to pay him handsomely. But like you said, these things can go on for a while.
The entire league knows who TJ Watt is. And we know who he's going to be. There are no question marks under TJ Watt. So it's, just a matter of pen to paper. Let's get it done, guys.
Please, so we can stop talking about it. All right. So this is from the idiot who might be my new favorite person.
I love him.
Yeah. Will Haden and Juju be back next season? I think I'm kind of on the fence about Joe Haden, because I feel like he might be able to find a team with an egregious amount of cap space and maybe is willing to take more of a risk on a player who's aging at the cornerback position to pay him more than the Steelers would. But it all depends on how I think he and Juju both perform this season. We kind of touched on that about Juju at the beginning. I think, Morgan, you said this is a prove it year for Juju. And it is. And I think based on the way that conversations have been going surrounding Joe Haden's contract and his potential testing the free agency market, I think there's maybe a 60-40 chance that Joe Haden is playing somewhere else next year. And then I would say 50-50 chance in my opinion that Juju's back next year. As much as that sucks, I think that it's, again, like, you just never know with teams like Jacksonville and the Jets and the teams that are kind of at the lower end of the league, like what they're willing to pay players to sign them,
to come in and shake things up. Like,
yeah.
I totally agree. It pains me physically to think about going back on Juju watch. Like,
oh my Lord,
do you remember?
I try to forget daily.
Oh my God.
It was traumatic.
Like, we had him, for those of you who are new to our podcast, Juju and his mother, Sammy, were our first guests on our first episode. Ever. And we straight up said, Juju, like, where are you playing football next year? And, you know, he gave us I want to play for a contender. I want to play for what I'm worth, you know,
yada, yada.
The standard operating procedure response, right? But it was the first time he had said that to a media source or a podcast or, you know.
And he said that he wanted to stay here if possible.
And he said, yes. He said, I want to stay in Pittsburgh, especially if Ben stays. Ben's made it very known, you know, how much he wants Juju in Pittsburgh. So, like, does Ben leaving or staying next year change what happens with Juju? I 100% think it does. If Ben stays, I think there's more of a likelihood that Juju stays or that we give Juju a big contract. I think if Juju goes out and plays this year the same or better than he played last year, and we know that he doesn't want to be in the slot all season. He has been vocal about wanting to play outside. I believe that Matt Canada will find ways to get him outside, not 100% of the time, but I do think that's going to happen. We're going to see a lot more of that. I think that he can solidify himself as more of a versatile target as opposed to solely a slot receiver. He did lead the NFL in the slot this year. That being said, that is going to raise his market value. So we'll see what happens there. As far as Haden goes, I will be heartbroken. I love Joe Haden. I love him on this team. I love the leadership that he brought instantly when he came over from the Browns. I can't say enough good things about that man, and I think that he is still playing this game at a high level. He is the leader of that secondary, and even with Minka back there, everyone looks to Joe for, you know, that leadership and his mentality and, you know, the energy he brings to the field and to the locker room. I mean, Joe Haden is a presence that is valuable. The fact that the Steelers did not give him the extension that Andrew Rosenhaus asked for this year means Joe Haden's going to go out there and play his ass off as well. Yeah. Because he is also playing for a new contract. He doesn't want to be done playing football, and he shouldn't be done playing football.
He's still too good.
He's still too good. I have not seen him fall off a cliff yet. Once that happens, then we can have that conversation. But, you know, he's going to play his ass off this year. That only bodes well for us as far as the season goes. It only bodes terribly for us as far as signing him back next year goes. So, you know, what do you want? Do you want to have a great season, or do you want to retain Joe Haden? I think that this is the year, if anything, that Colbert's kind of going balls to the wall and saying, like, we're going to give it our all to, you know, bring the city another championship. And he has done the things this offseason that he was able to do to make that happen. I mean, letting Bud Dupree and Mike Hilton leave was not for nothing. The moves that he made this offseason, let's go back to the TJ Watt thing for a second. We didn't let those two walk, one of which went to a division rival. Not to keep or not to pay TJ Watt. Yeah. So, like, again, don't be stressed, but stress a little about Haden and Juju. Yeah. As I am.
That's actually valid, I think. Yeah. And those are huge pieces of the team that would need to be addressed. And cornerback right now needs to be addressed. Like, it always needs to be addressed for the Steelers because they drafted that position so poorly. And Joe Haden leaving would, as much as people loved to throw shade at Steven Nelson when he left, like that wasn't a deal breaker for the team, but like that created a need that was not
right
before that.
And none of us anticipated that.
Yeah. And I think that would be a critical, like, that would be a big deal to have to go into either free agency or draft at that position next year, because the Steelers, again, just don't do it well. And the wide receiver room is, again, as much as people love to go like be down on Juju about his antics and stuff, he is a voice in that locker room and that team that people respect. Whether or not you agree with that, the wide receiver core looks up to him. They respect 100%. Him, and it might look a little bit different than the standard definition of respect for people who were born in the 60s and grew up watching guys like Jack Lambert and Mean Joe Green. It's
even Hines Ward.
It's just, it's different, and that would create another need. And we still have yet to, as much as we all want Deontay Johnson to lean into his strengths, because he has a ton of them, and if he can get himself under control a little bit, he's going to be elite.
Yeah.
But he isn't elite yet. He still has a lot of things that he needs to hone in on his position and really get his hands under control. And we haven't seen that yet. We don't know what's up with Chase Claypool getting into fights with people at training camp. Like that wide receiver core needs some stability. And as good as the Steelers are at drafting that position, that's rarely ever something they have, is consistency at that position, at least in the last decade, because it's been a revolving door of
100%. And that is a direct result of the fact that we draft that position so well. The Steelers draft that position so well that they don't have to pay their best receivers. They just, y'all are a dime a dozen in the Steelers front office.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I disagree with that notion.
It creates other issues.
Absolutely. And like you are spot on. Whether or not people want to believe that Juju is respected, not only in that wide receiver room, but in that locker room, he doesn't give a shit if you think he's respected or not. He is. I don't know how else to tell you. It's very evident. It's very obvious when you talk to his teammates, when you talk to these players, that Juju is someone they want around. Yeah. So if you want to take Devin Bush's tweets literally, be my guest, I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
You mean when he was going through like a manic episode that time, those tweets?
Yeah. So we'll see.
Grain of salt those.
Salt Bay that shit. Last question we've got from our hype man, the convict. What was the most heartbreaking moment as a Steelers fan? I can unequivocally say it was when Ryan Shazier got hurt. I still get tears in my eyes thinking about that. I'll never forget like where I was watching that game, the feelings I felt for days, weeks, months after that happened. The absolute most heartbreaking thing I've ever witnessed as a Steelers fan. That includes losing Super Bowls. That includes, Rashard Mendenhall fumbling against the Packers. It includes all of it. It includes Juju fumbling against the Saints, like all the tough moments that were just like devastating. We could go through a laundry list, and that one tops all of it every single time. For me.
And honestly, from a human perspective and from a sports fan perspective, I don't think there is anything that's more heartbreaking than that, because it was not just a man losing his career, but potentially losing the ability. Like, we didn't know what was going to happen at that point. We thought,
didn't know if you could
yeah,
walk again.
and that
Walk.
was, yeah, like if there were moments, sure, like the you mentioned it in the Super Bowl game against the Packers, like Rashard Mendenhall fumbling, that was rough to watch. And even like I remember the AFC Championship game in 2005 against the Patriots. I was in 6th grade, and I grew up obviously a Pirates fan, a Penguins fan, and more elevated a Pitt Hoops fan, and they always broke my heart. And
Yeah.
I thought that the Steelers, at least once they reached that point, wouldn't let me down. And whenever they did lose to the Patriots, I remember I was at a friend's house and I walked home in the snow and I was just crying. I was so upset. But I was in 6th grade, so
Right.
you can Salt Bay that one too.
You
but
were impressionable at that point,
exactly.
right? Like,
but yeah, like when you boil it down to like heartbreaking, like rip it out and just, oh my gosh, like feel the pain. It absolutely, that felt like the air was sucked out of my lungs watching him get hit, because as soon as they made contact, it was like, oh God, that's not good.
And it goes beyond football. That was the thing. Like, this is his life. This is this man's life that will forever change because of one play. And that, my friends, is why you get the guaranteed money. And that is why you don't fault these players for wanting guaranteed money, period. Bottom line. I'm done with it. I'm done with people talking about players being selfish. There is a point where it becomes selfish. Sure, there's a point. Absolutely. Football is a team sport. I get it. There is a salary cap. Whether or not that's real is yet to be seen.
We don't know that. If it is real, we don't believe it.
But that's what you get, the guaranteed money. And that's why TJ should go get his guaranteed money. So
good for him.
We'll stay there.
Yep.
Let's jump into a Steelers game preview, because the Steelers play football
6 days
weekend. This
6
weekend.
Days.
What?
Oh my God. Oh,
praise Jesus.
Oh,
I am so excited.
Cannot wait.
I can't wait. It is in Buffalo. It is against the Bills.
Whatever. Probably going to be a loss, but we don't care. It's going to be awesome.
It's probably going to be a loss. We're not delusional over here, so probably going to be a loss, but
we're going to be excited about it before we lose. That's how I felt leading up to the game against the Patriots a couple years ago. I was like, I do not feel good about this. But I'm excited football's back. And until we take the field, I'm going to be excited about it. And then there was a false start on everyone except the center. And I was like, well, that did not last long. So I'm glad I enjoyed it while I could.
Oh, what a classic football moment. My God.
Talk about heartbreaking. That was, God, that was a bad one. But
game against the Patriots.
Game against Buffalo, 1:00 this Sunday on CBS. So what are you looking for in this game? Like, so since we both have expressed that we potentially think that this is probably going to be a loss, like, what are you looking for in this game?
Okay, the number one thing I want to see is Kendrick Green at center. I think I'm going to get a lot. Like, that is not a matchup that I'm necessarily worried about because of the strength of the Bills defense or anything like that. I just want to see him in action. Like, I just want to see a new starting center, how he meshes with the line, what his interactions and chemistry is with Ben, if he's going to snap something over Ben's head and then Ben's not going to fall on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, really looking forward to seeing him in action. I also am going to look at that secondary, because while we talk about guys like Cole Beasley, Stephon Diggs, we've got Devin Singletary, lots of players over there who are very, very capable of going deep in that secondary. And we have so many questions back there. It's going to be real interesting to see who stands out in a good way and in a bad way.
Yeah, I personally am really going to be looking at, because again, I'm expecting this to be a loss. My eye is going to be on the adaptability of Matt Canada and Keith Butler to change up the game plan mid-game.
Yep.
On what is going on with the offense and the defense, because we saw that with good old Randy. He was committed to his playbook
Yes.
through and through, no matter
I
how
mean,
bad it
it was
failed.
the Bible. Like,
Yeah.
it was hand on the Bible, Randy's playbook, whatever. And it wasn't
Yep.
until Ben said, F you, Randy, we're not
Uh-huh.
listening anymore, that game plans got changed. And
Yep.
we saw that. You're spot on, especially
Yep.
with Matt Canada. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
I know what we're going to get from Keith Butler, but
Yeah.
Matt
And
Canada.
hopefully we can see some flexibility with Keith Butler too, especially if there's the off chance that TJ Watt isn't going to be out there. If that
Right.
does happen, he's going to have to work on the fly to change up the defense to you're really going to have to lock in to shut down Josh Allen, because honestly, I I think he is a front runner for MVP this year, just
Oh, I
because
totally
his trajectory has been, and it's not just like
staggering.
he has incredible arm strength, accuracy, and his feet are just, oh my gosh, and his vision. Yeah. So if
He's
we
got all of it.
yeah, he's the whole package. Like
Yeah.
I I think that it will be very telling for the rest of the season if we see the team, the Steelers, go out and kind of just like shrug their shoulders if they're down and be like, well, what are we going to do about it now? So that's kind of what I'm paying attention to. Like,
I
are
don't
you going to give
expect
up?
that.
Yeah.
I don't expect that at all. Like, I can count on one hand how many times I think I've seen that from them in my lifetime. The thing is, who do you put on Stephon Diggs?
Yeah.
Like, in that
Oh
secondary,
God.
if we're in man coverage, who do you put on Stephon Diggs?
I don't
This is my
know.
concern. And not every team has a Stephon Diggs, but every team has a guy who thinks he's Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Cause it's
Pierre,
like, maybe like
Sutton,
but then you're like, if my concern with Sutton, if they're like doing kind of like a hybrid role with him, like it leaves the middle of the field open potentially for Josh Allen
right?
to have his way. And I just don't know.
This
I
is why
don't
we need
know.
TJ.
This is why we need you, please. Please. I know we got Joe Schobert, and I know that we got like Alex Highsmith is going to be stepping into an elevated role this
Absolutely.
year, and he's going
Yeah.
to do really well. Like I and Devin Bush, obviously, like having him back is going to be key. But that secondary, dang, they make me nervous. And
That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
I want to see who we put on, like what these matchups are looking like, because
mhm,
whoever they put on Stephon Diggs is the guy they see as like the best
the
or
one,
most
yeah,
capable, like the chosen one,
yeah,
right? So like really want to see that.
mhm,
I don't know.
yeah,
Najee, I'm so excited to see him.
yeah. He's gonna be fun. He's gonna be
I can't
fun.
wait. I can't wait.
It'll
That's
be
the one
interesting to
thing.
see how the line gels together too, especially now with Banner out. Like
Yeah.
that's, and they, now that they announced the depth chart, we do have Kendrick Green at center and Trey Turner and Chooks is in there. And I'm hopeful that Kevin Dotson really comes out with kind of a chip on his shoulder
I
after
was
all the
just
like
I was just gonna say
it
after
yeah, he has the talent and he has the strength for it. So I think that all of this offseason chatter surrounding him is really just going to light a fire under him to get him
100%.
the very few snaps we saw him in last year, he was a tank. Like he just was
We were
immovable.
like livid when Mike Tomlin
Mhm.
did not start him that in the
Oh,
playoffs. We
big
were
mistake.
livid. Huge.
Yep. But
All right, keys to a win.
I was dreading this one. Obviously shedding
Miracle.
Josh, yeah,
Sweet baby
miracle,
Jesus.
yeah, the Christmas season coming imminently. I think you have to shut Josh Allen down. Like whether that's getting in his head early, really rattling him, keeping him, even if it's just keeping him locked in the pocket so he doesn't have anywhere to move, so you can sort of limit him to a one-dimensional role, and then you only have to worry about his arm, which is still a big deal. But if you can just kind of eliminate one element of his play, anything, figure it out, do your job. I don't know what I'm talking about. So, like, if you can sort of keep him on the quieter side and then really exploit I'm not super familiar with Buffalo's defense, but if you can exploit some holes on their defense, if the offensive line can lock in, we can establish a run game early on so that Ben can have the opportunity to, work with some play action, maybe throw some end around like sweeps in there, jet sweeps and RPOs even. Like having that weapon in the artillery would be really helpful.
And with Najee, like that elevates the run pass option so much. Like we have the weapons on this offense are actually incredible when you really think about it.
Yeah.
It's laughable. And then you look at the line and you say, you are the one thing
you were also
holding
laughable.
This offense. Exactly. We can laugh in a good way and then we can laugh in a really bad way.
And then just cry.
And then we'll all just cry together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you look at that line and you say, you are the weakest link.
And but it's like, we can't say goodbye to you because we need you. So just figure it out.
Stuck with you. Listen, I've been the one in Steelers Twitter, Steelers whatever, fandom, whatever you want to call it, that has been relatively positive throughout this whole shift on the offensive line. Mainly because I don't think it gets worse than last year. Like, I don't think it could get worse.
That's a good way to look at it, and also true.
Knocking on my floor right now, my wood floors. There's a lot of unknown. Like we'll just say it. There's not a lot that we know about this line, especially with the shuffling in what seems like the last minute because of Banner. Prayers to him. I just hope that he heals up. Speaking of prayers, Stephon Tuitt, like praying for you. We love you. Whenever you're ready, like not only an injury, but his brother, like God.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, you've got our thoughts for sure. But as far as that line goes, I'm not going to slap a label on them and say like, oh, this is the reason that we're going to lose. Until I can see them, until I see those 5 guys line up together and do their job well or poorly, I'm not going to say that they're, I mean, I know I just said it, but I'm not gonna like blame them for anything.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Keys to a W. I think the offense has to absolutely go off because we are looking at the Bills offense as one of the most unstoppable, prolific offenses in the league right now. And on a defense where the secondary is questionable and we don't know if our edge rusher, the best edge rusher in the league is going to be taking the field. There's just a lot up in the air defensively. So relying on the offense to be efficient, and that doesn't mean getting the ball out quickly. I just mean
it does not.
Get your asses down the field.
And
I'm not worried about 3 and outs, though. I will say that. Presley Harvin.
Oh, he's going to get the job done. Thank God. Lord bless you, Presley Harvin the third. Right? Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
And I think it's totally manageable or not manageable. It's not unrealistic to think that the defense, if they play well, could stop the Bills offense because I was watching I think it was Good Morning Football this morning and they were recapping the last time we played them and we only gave up, I think it was something like 23 points the last time we played them. And it was
they did not decimate us.
No, it was the offense's inability to produce any type of successful or productive drive. I think we had 13 points or something in that range. Like, come on, a touchdown
Right.
and 2 field goals. You can't expect to score that few points and win against the Bills. But if they had done 3 touchdowns and a field goal, they could have won the game. And so you're absolutely right. We need to score, and that's going to set the tone for the entire season, because the Steelers need to come out of the gate being unpredictable on offense, because they were so predictable last year.
That was the Achilles heel last year.
If
the
they
predictability.
if they can throw people, the rest of the league off, like, well, okay, so we actually have to game plan for the Steelers this week. It isn't just always going to be shotgun.
Him to be going out of the shotgun 99.9% of the time. They're not going to run the ball, so don't worry about that. Yeah, you're exactly right. The unpredictability is going to have to be, and that tone's going to have to be set ASAP.
Immediately from the first snap.
I believe wholeheartedly that Matt Canada is focusing on that. Yep. Everyone heard opposing teams say they knew what was coming. Everyone heard that. Yeah. People can't stop talking about it a year later. Yeah. So I
wish they would shut up about it, actually.
Wish they'd shut up about a lot of things.
Yeah, but, that's a good point. Whatever. That's next episode.
Seriously. Hopefully next episode we come in talking about how wrong we were. I mean,
that would be great. Like? Wow. I don't remember.
There's a first for everything.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Anyway, guys, looking forward beyond this next week, we are officially hosting the home opener tailgate with Stiller Gang, the Terrible Tailgate. Sam, Jordan, and I will all be there. It's going to be such a good time. Yeah. So y'all please come out, say hi. Let's grab a beer. I know Jordan would love to drink a beer with you. So would I.
All I want. Yeah.
It's all we want. So please come kick it with us, guys. It's going to be so much fun, and we're definitely getting the win that week. So it's going to be good times all around.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Excited.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's wrap this thing up. It's been real as always, Steeler Nation. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Yinzhers and on Instagram at Yinzhers Official.
And subscribe so that we can kick it every week. And we'll see you next Tuesday for another episode of Yinzhers.
Bye, guys.
Bye.